maybe just another support. I suppose you could also go for the mid here for Makoto if you really feel like it. Have you noticed something, Jonathan? Like, I feel like you want to say something right now.
I was going to say, if they suspect UDV is running mid DK, you could run a mid Rubik. You could get your Ags Dream. I don't think I'm trying to recall, did we ever see Makoto do that in Old Boom?
No.
I feel like no.
No.
But hey, DK versus Rubik matchup feels pretty good for Rubik. It's not the worst thing in the world. You could rush like a blink timing there with the Ags and play around with that. That could be one way to go about if Talon's feeling extra spicy. I don't expect them to. You know, they take every game seriously. Not like us, Mike, where we meme it up a lot, but I would love to see that. You know, I remember hyping up core Rubik before. Remember when his talents were much more damage oriented as well at that time, and if you snowballed hard, you just melt heroes, and then you had double null as well being spell amp along with his passive, so felt really good. I mean, it's still nice, but it's not as dominant because of the change in talents, so I don't think we can expect that. Talon, though, they take the Omni Knight, and this hero surprised us a couple of times when we have seen it on support, Mike. It's just so durable. And the slow, I mean, the hammer looks funny, but you can't underestimate that. The spam ability, 50 mana for that much damage and slow is pretty decent as far as efficiency per mana cost goes. And it can really help sustain some of the big Savage heroes. Like if Savage opts for a Razor plus Omni Knight is great. Medusa plus Omni Knight's also really good, although that was banned out. UDV get a good response to that. I think Shadow Demon's one of the supports that can kind of break off the Omni Knight pretty nicely with his own spells. Demonic Purge is going to be key now, and a lot of these engagements for UDV to deal with, say, Guardian Angel down the line. I think that it does give you some good options here, and gives you some good setup for play. UDV also go into the TA, so there's still some flex that could be our JG mid TA. It could still be like a can safe lane TA as well. So you have a lot of options to run. You have good minus armor here for UDV with Weaver and TA, and you have a good frontline DK. So great responses overall. You're still picking a physical core into an Omni Knight, but again, at least the Shadow Demon helps to relieve that to a certain extent here.
I actually remember laughing when I saw the changes to Omni Knight when they added the Hammer of Purity. I remember laughing out loud, but I do agree with your points, John. Like, it does do a lot of damage for something that you can just spam on 50 mana. It's actually kind of ridiculous how much damage it does deal. Still, one more pick here for Talon Esports before we can go into the bans, and naturally, surprise, surprise, John, Tony was left, so Tony's going to come into the picture. Tony, always very good right now, I'd say. Even against the TA, you just burn through those refractions with one avalanche. You have that nice silver edge for break against the DK. Tony's never really bad unless he's against the Eye of Skadi carrier like Dusa or something like that. But most cases, he's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's funny as well. You've got the Omni Knight combination, so Heavenly Grace with bonus strength on a strength hero that has ridiculous damage. I mean, how is that fair? No, how is that fair with added HP regen for Tiny when he has such high EHP, with Grow giving his coverage on armor? Like, think about the balancing on Tiny. It actually is bewildering. This guy has 0 base agi, very little agi growth, but he compensates with his ult that gives him plus 10, 15, 20 armor, or 10. I don't even remember the numbers, but around that point.
You just buy a Wraith Band anyway. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And then, you know, Shadow Blade gives you attack speed. Silver Edge gives you a really good crit plus some attack speed. You build AC to get even more armor with your ridiculous strength gain. Like this, the concept of Tiny is just, it's kind of ridiculous. You know, you look at his stat gains, you look at his kit, and it's kind of wild that he's still here, but he's still here, and it's a good Tiny game, as you pointed out, Mike.
I remember about a week ago, I was on Reddit. Don't know why I was there, John, but I was on Reddit, and I couldn't help but notice I can't remember which talent it was, but some caster was getting told off by a Redditor because they said that the Wraith Band was normal and Tiny, and it was the Reddit person couldn't understand why you'd buy Wraith Band as a first item for Tiny. There's your answer. Armor's always nice, attack speed's always nice for a hero like this. It's not bad. It's actually the way to play POS 1 Tiny right now, especially if you're against a pretty difficult matchup. I don't necessarily think this time around he needs to go Wraith Band against DK, but you never know. I mean, it's just Tiny. It doesn't really damn matter, does it, John? You're gonna hit you're gonna hit 15 minutes. You're gonna buy shards. You're gonna have a free Battle Fury. And another thing I guess I saw on Reddit was people asking why Sven even exists when you've got Tiny.
Yeah.
Very good question.
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
That's an absolutely great question, because you have Cleave as well in the Tiny. You don't need to yell every time for your armor. It's just a passive. And attack speed's not an issue. He has Avalanche Toss, which is a better stun at this point compared to Sven. He doesn't even feel great with the Ags anymore. You know, that is a good question. Tiny is the composite to Sven, and poor Sven's just dead. Well, do miss that hero. He's one of my favorite ones.
Do you miss Superman, Sven?
I absolutely do.
I actually miss that. I actually miss it too.
To be fair, it was all over the place as well when that was popular, right? We were seeing it left, right, and center, Ags Rush Sven, but it was fun. What else is fun for UDV is this Kunkka coming out. So there's our playmaking. There's some teamfight control. And that does signal to me that this is likely our Rupido DK once more in the offlane. DK versus Tiny. You mentioned it already. It doesn't really slow Tiny down too badly, and they do Razor. So likely Razor mid for Mikado, I'm expecting here. And it is up against JG's Kunkka. Kunkka does have ways to stop that. X mark on Razor while he's chasing you will kind of break off the link for the most part. But it's still a melee hero against Razor.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of good targets. TA is going to be the big one down the line, of course. Great counter pick for that. I know you're going to ask a difficult question, Mike. I'm just going to say Talon has a better draft. I don't know how you deal with it. Right. I mean, you've got Omni Knight. You've got Hyde Rubik. So, you know, you're not going to get the Mikado Rubik, sadly. But you never see that anyway. And you've got the Razor to answer these heroes. You've got the KP Mars for teamfight control. This is such a strong draft from Talon for UDV. We've got to see them play almost the same playstyle there, with the exception that the TA will take more farm. But we need to see them keep playing as 4, gank around while the Tiny doesn't hit its early spikes, while the Razor doesn't have BKB, and try to prevent Talon from trying to play that farm game here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Razor pick was really clever. You know, it's not even about laning stage, I don't think. Like, who cares if Kunkka doesn't really lose lane anyway, right? Like, Tidebringer's going to win you the lane. But against TA, you just static link. She can't do anything. Like, I'll meld, but static link keeps going anyway. All my damage is gone. Like, it's interesting, though. I do appreciate UDV's draft. I think they've got a very snowbally, mid-game orientated draft, John, that I think they could certainly pull off this win with. Just hard to see it against Talon, because Talon, they do tend to be able to slow down the game very effectively, and again, buy a lot of time for 23 Savage to get to that point where he's just a monster. Basically like last game, just very conservative play. It's up to UDV to set the pace here. Because again, Talon Esports, I think, are very, very confident in their late game with this kind of draft. And I'm sure they're more than happy to drag the game out as long as they need to. So UDV, I'm kind of hoping we see some more aggression this time around. Because last game, it felt like they had a timing once they had that blink on DK. And then they just didn't move. They kind of just went back to farming. And it's like, well, you're farming against a Medusa. And it's 23 Savage playing that Medusa. And you've got KP Brewmaster, who's going to have 4 charges of Primal Split eventually. Like, you don't want to go again. You get my point, John. Game number 2, I'm hoping for some more aggression here from UDV.
Yeah, and I think they've got the lineup to sustain it. I feel slight concern about trying to play aggressive with the TA. There is an early timing there. Dragonlance Desolator tends to be it. So maybe at that point, Ken starts showing up and contributing some damage as well to overwhelm side of Talon. To be fair, though, like a Tiny farms pretty fast. This here is very balanced. I don't think the TA actually has a farm advantage in that matchup. So we'll see if UDV will apply that pressure. I think they've got to be able to do it. And they do have a lineup that, again, enables that. In comparison to their Game 1 lineup, though, like, it's not like you have Mystic Flare to follow through with your DK stun. You do have both Torrent, but I think that burst potential is not as high as a Sky. The control is better, though. So we'll see if that plays better for UDV, just having more AoE control to clean up the follow-through fights instead of just having that burst on hand.
30 seconds to battle.
So just want to point out, John, I really miss the days where Tiny Tree Volley was a thing. Still have it. The Ags are still there. That's the beauty of it, right? And it was Savage who really brought it to our attention back during Genesis Plus with a gunner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did do it there. I remember a Chinese game order. I think it was Team Eclipse that really had the Morphling plus the Tiny. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Talon should be able to secure 2 bounty units here. Should be able to say the same for UDV. And it's gonna be a 2 for 2. Lucifer giving the tip over there to Makoto. Not 100% sure why. I don't know what Makoto could have done against the disruption, but he'll get another tip as well. Just for fun.
Yeah, while we're here, might as well take a look at that mid. As we mentioned, Mike, as you mentioned, the Kunkka doesn't tend to lose out in mid matchups. Mikado already does have that static link. So it's going to be a back and forth, basically very stable farming lane. Every time static link is up, Mikado has the advantage every time it's down. JG can just play with Tidebringer, try to isolate with a torrent. Landing torrent on a ranged hero is a lot tougher though, so you are really just relying on constant Tidebringers, and you don't necessarily want the Tidebringer while static link debuff is on. So there, it does lock in the Kunkka to a certain timing then for the harassment window, and that can lead to a slower start, but beyond that, this should probably be one of the more boring lanes. Just gonna focus on that farm.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the top lane, John. You've got 23 Savage in queue against Rupido on the Dragon Knight once again, and this time he'll have Lucifer and the Shadow Demon. I mean, you certainly have a bit of kill potential here with the SD-DK, but it is going to take a bit of work. And, I mean, on the side of Talon, I suppose I could say the exact same thing. Like, you could kill somebody, it's probably going to take a bit of work, though.
Yeah, I mean, there is aggression that can come out. I think for the side of Talon, this is a really great defensive lane. You've got great healings from Purification. Heaven Grace is just going to cut off a lot of what UDV will want to do. And this is not the ideal lane to play with Shadow Poison. I mean, it's undispellable, but you can still heal through a lot of that early damage just with the Omni Knight. So that presence of just having Dragon Tail, Shadow Poison spam down the line, not going to do as much against this lane. I think that does secure Savage pretty stable farming lane. It's still annoying with the DK, especially once Breed fires up, but when you have Tree Grab up, the Breed Fire doesn't really do much to you.
I mean, you want to talk about annoying, John. Down at pot lane, KP and Hyde have just been annoying the crap out of Ken on this TA. It's the classic Rubik Mars lane. Like, you get lifted up into a spear once, you're going to lose about, 2/3 of your HP instantly. And Hyde's been doing a very good job of just kind of frontlining against this TA Weaver combination. Again, as the levels go up, it just feels a lot scarier here for UDV, and I think this is where we'll probably see First Blood occurring, if anything.
Yeah, it's the most aggressive lane. You have a lot of minus armor here for the side of UDV. Once the swarm is up, that'll take level 3 for T. A KP can control the lane well, and we're already seeing Ken struggle a bit in the CS. Not finding as much. KP still has a massive wave that's going to shove in. Double range creep for the EXP as well. So you're going to have a good injection of levels for Hyde and KP. Important for this kind of duo. And not much the Weaver can do. Like, there's only so much T he can do to scurry around Shikuchi. Swarm is nice, but again, TA doesn't tend to have the best reach until side blades are up and running. And considering side lane, you kind of still prioritize refraction. So, gonna be a slower start here for EDV, and something they have to watch out for. We talked about the TA, it has to hit an earlier spike, and that tiny to really snowball.
Well, Ken's gonna be alright. KP doesn't have the spear up at the moment, so just gonna hold out. Still very happy with the way the lane's going anyway. Just dominating in terms of CS here. And once again, Ken, that'll be his second salve of the game already, being handed over here by the Weaver. Definitely not a very good time whatsoever here for the TA as... Well, now Hyde's gonna run into T here. Spear is up. Oh, KP. Bit off the mark. It won't matter. Even without the spear, they've got plenty of damage here with the Mars. And, well, KP, he already had a very good start. Now with the bonus gold, he's having an even better time.
That should help.
It's a big win for the side of Talon, and that is giving some much needed room for Ken to focus on his creep wave. But that is going to lead to KP having much more levels, getting that soul ring faster, phase boots faster, and just sustain the lane more. And allows Hyde to rotate, so helping secure those water runes away. JG is going to be fine, not much threat coming through, but Mikado is still having a great time, and he still has his own water rune to fall back to. Level 5 is up, level 2 static link, he can just run down JG, and look at his damage, 69 minus 64. Very nice, Mike.
Very, very nice indeed. He should be healing the creeps at this point. JG, see what he can do. He's trying to CS, he actually gets one surprisingly enough. So Makoto going to be X-Back into a torrent, but the tier 1 tower is currently hitting a range creep. Makoto, he's going to take a bit of damage, but like you said, John, he's got a water rune to go back to anyway, so he'll have a 2/3 of a bottle up any moment now, and well, poor old JG can't really stop him from taking that water rune. And considering the matchup against Razor, you would have almost hoped for JG to have a bit of help here. He hasn't really had any kind of support rotations moving in at all, so he's kind of just been left to the wolves here, this Kunkka. It certainly hasn't been a very nice time whatsoever. Maybe now they could try, but I guess you've only got an SD with you. He'll disrupt. Immediate TP rotations out from Talon to try and help out as Makoto is dropping low, but he's got the purification. Q will be there to save the day. The hide was there just in case. In the end, Makoto going to be just fine. He'll get salved up.
Lots of commitment out from Talon, but I think they understand their side lanes can hold steady. Savage is at the point where he's not under any kill threat from DK. Although we saw Rupido do that last game where he got the solo kill. Bit of a chase with Teehee and Hyde, kind of trying to disrupt some stacks. Teehee already has the swarm up, so he is winning the right-click trade with Hyde here.
Well, Hyde's got a Fairy Fire, though. Be a little bit careful there as Teehee, but he does end up walking away anyway. Mid lane. Look how annoying Q's being. He's just disrupting the stacks being made. Like this time around, he's only going to disrupt the ancient Oh no, he actually disrupted the other one because he's got a sentry ward there. Lucify, that's the second time in a row he's tried to triple stack these cams. And it just hasn't worked because Q is just being such a nuisance.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you really want to get done with your Shadow Demon for the TA. Build the stacks up, have some farm ready to go for Ken or JG. And without that catch-up farm, I think the slower laning going to start biting them. Like, sure, a couple of stacks are there. Talon can intercept and try to contest those stacks as well earlier on. Auto down mid.
Yeah, mid lane. That's a lot of damage out with the boat. They might just have him, and they will. TP's cancelled off there by Talon. That's a very important pickup for UDV. They needed to find Makoto at some point, and it's going to allow a bit of breathing room here for JG.
Allows him to catch up, work onto those phase boots first for some additional damage. Keen to see what JG goes for this game. We've seen a lot of BKB first, Tunkas, we've seen Orchids, we've seen sometimes even Travels, although again, not in this case. I think that in this case, you might want just the Shadowblade Silver Edge, just to have a lot of damage on hand, start to hit for your team. Orchid could be nice as well, but Orchid against Omni Knight isn't particularly great. So either the Shadowblade or the BKB. BKB could be nice to have that front line to follow through with the DK, but we'll see. JG still holding on. Q disrupting the clearing of the stacks, even taking a creep or two. And here comes Mikado to take away even more.
And he will. For JG, he's going to be around, and he does have boat available, so they could certainly try to force a fight. Do they even know this is happening? I mean, Makoto, he just takes him for free. They know the ancient stacks are still there at the least, so JG gonna go have a look around. We'll see them as they do chase down Q. Actually not going for the X yet, but eventually does manage to land it into a torrent, and that should be an Omni Knight kill. Q, he'll try to make it as hard as humanly possible. With the Heavenly Grace, he is quite tanky, but eventually he should drop, and does. JG able to find another.
Yeah, nice freebie kill. Kind of makes up for losing the stacks. So overall, you're pretty happy on this Conquer. That does force a lot of rotations onto mid once more. And again, considering the side lanes, Talon is pretty happy with that. That means there's no kill threat onto either of their heroes. Savage having to deal with a Dragon Form on Rupido is fairly annoying, but your Tiny is still finding decent farm, although it is lacking behind in comparison to Ken. So there is some really good news here for UDV. Your TA is having a much stronger start, still has the Ancients to play for. Dragonlance not too far off. And with the Dragon Form up, you can go for that early crush.
Well, Savage now going to be caught out. Another great kill if they can get it. Raindrops will protect it a little bit, but Savage dropping way too low. Purification, Heavenly Grace though, he might just make it. They even got the link out onto JG. He gets lifted up here by Hyde, and it looks like JG's going to be taken down. Savage, he's still being chased. He does find him, but it's going to be at an expensive cost here for UDV. Q just on the Omni Knight doing so much work to make sure Savage stays alive longer than he should have.
And they had to work extra hard for that kill, and they sacrificed JG to get that done. Still a big kill to take, because they focus their efforts there instead of the tower. The tower's going to stand for a little bit longer, not quite in deny range for Talon. They've got the opportunity to repair that lane a little bit more and hold off on losing some objectives. Still, UDV, they managed to get a good ward dropped off before they die. They're going to be able to monitor that top jungle. And at the end of the day, this is fights away from the TA. So you are still buying space for your win condition. Your TA Ken is still farming up. Again, Dragonlance fairly close. The Ancient still under constant protection as well. Something they have to ensure here.
Makoto, doing just fine. Let's go for the link up onto Rupido, almost taking him down, but had no mana for the plasma field at the time. Meanwhile, Ken, he does make his way over to the Radiant Triangle now and realizes he probably needs to start clearing out these stacks. But immediately Talon start to rotate. They are not going to allow these to go down for free. Gonna appreciate the hustle here from Talon. Just abusing this Observer Ward, making sure they're always around to disrupt this TA. Don't allow the timing that UDV need to hit to be able to snowball out of control. And oh, they even show up mid lane. JG gonna get speared up by KP in the arena. That'll be JG gone. No one around to help him out in time.
And that should open up a bit of a mid-tier 1 push here as well with Savage around. And Tiny just does so much damage onto objectives once he does have the tree grab up. And they should be able to get this done in a quick process. They will be trading away their top. Rupido is there with the Dragon form, so there is a tower trade for UDV, but the mid is a lot of a bigger target here.
Mid lane, UDV gonna pretty much throw all their bodies out to defend that tier 1 mid tower. But the damage has already basically been done. It's just so much damage dealt. Now they just split up again. Talon, understanding. They've got some time now. Allow Savage to be able to catch up on that Tiny. Again, he has not had the greatest laning stage and is still quite far behind in farm. But everything else kind of being said, John, he's only about 300 gold behind a TA, which I think is pretty damn good news. Though Ken might snowball now because he's taking those ancient stacks we talked about earlier on. He'll get away with it.
Illusion.
Yeah. Finally get the space for Ken to clear that out and manage to protect it really well despite all the bodies coming through from Talon. He is working onto his Desolator next, and that's the key timing that we were looking for from UDV. This should be the point where they can snowball, play off the back of what will line up with a blink timing on Rupido, and start taking some fights, transition to Roche, and start securing more objectives on the map. So we'll see if they can ride into that point. Talon, for their part, working onto the bot tier 1. Not the biggest objective to take at this point. They can swing over for mid once they've finished this commitment. Only Teehee around to hold this off. No TP's coming in, so it looks like UDV is willing to give this one away.
They've got one TP. Will be cancelled off. JG, though, has run his way up the Kunkka, but it doesn't seem like Talon at all are quite interested to try and go for that fight. And Savage does just pick up his Echo Saber, but again, he's a bit too far behind in farm right now to really commit to a big team fight. And look at KP top lane. Purge is there. He does blink away. Ken, though, is going to be able to catch up. Now the arena down, though. KB not going to allow them to get exactly what they want. As Hyde, he'll show up, and Makoto, he'll do the same. Lucify going to pay with his own life here as Makoto does take it away. And they do not manage to get KP down whatsoever. The Makoto, he's gone too far. X into the boat, is going to connect. Can they help him out? Hyde is trying to get there in time, but Makoto is going to go down. Bit of a greedy play here from Talon. They might end up paying even more now as they drop the sentry and they end up finding Hyde. That'll be a second kill to go the way of UDV. And instead of finding the Mars, they found a Razor Rubik. Even better.
Much better. And Ken gets both of those kills as well. A good defensive arena coming out from KP. Looked like it cut off that fight, but as you mentioned, Mikado just stays a bit too long beyond his welcome. And now Ken's one part away from Desolator. So it is getting pretty scary to handle this TA. The farm lead is getting higher. They are forced to deny their mid-tier 1. So in the end, Talon still finds the objective they need to open up that bot jungle for Savage to have safe farm. And he is finding that safe farm. Now, Power Threats, Echo Saber up, still a ways off from the real big timings. He is going to go for the blink as well. He wants to take some activity in this game, jump in, help initiate, follow through with KP's own blink. But this is still tiny. You know, the network gap is a concern. And I think for UDV, once that Tesso is up, they've got to take a fight and transition to Roche. Maybe even just gun for the mid-tier 1. If they can take that mid-tier 1 here on UDV's end, Roche opens up massively. And it's pretty difficult for UDV to really get good control there outside of KP having a massive arena in mid.
Well, I mean, Ken's got the Deso coming out right now, so that like Roshan timing you talked about, John, it might be around that time now to make that move. Seems like Savage has kind of read the way this game's gone and is going for a blink dagger instead of going for any kind of farming tool. Like, he might pick up the shards first, see what he does opt for, but I'd say the blink is going to be much more effective if you are going to go for that Roshan fight as Talon. Ken, not going to go for Roshan yet though. Maybe just push out some lanes, maybe find a pick-off or two before you make that entry into the pit. And so Talon, they are going to have a bit of breathing room for now. That might end up being a wasted opportunity here. as Ken is top of the net worth board and certainly could get rid of that Roshan quite quickly. In the meantime, you might allow the blink to come up on Savage, and on top of that, Makoto might have the BKB in time for this Roshan.
That BKB is big on the Razor. He's not going to be scared of a lot of the control coming through from UDV. He's just going to be able to static link, focus on TA, take away a lot of that damage that she wants to pump out, and really start to take control in the middle of these engagements. So UDV has to be a bit cautious with how they pace themselves here. Again, I think the ideal move for them is to work onto the mid, clear out that tower, force a fight there, win the fight somehow, and then go into Roche. That's the series of events they need here, but UDV are scattered out, Mike. They're farming bot with JG, they're still clearing top with Ken. Maybe not comfy until that blink is up on Ken, not too far from that. He will go for a smoke play with Tree. Rapido still has his blink ready to go here, and the Dragon form is set to go as well.
Yeah, but they're going to run into 5 here from Talon if they're not too careful. As Talon, they're the ones to smoke up as 4 as well. Makoto, he'll frontline for the team, it seems. And Talon, maybe looking towards that mid-tier 2, but never mind. They're going towards the top lane where Ken knows something is awry, so he does TP out in time. Talon going to find absolutely nobody in that Radiant Triangle right now. They'll head mid instead. Again, Makoto trying to bait somebody in. However, Savage, he's going to find Ken. They found the TA in the tree line. Ken, he just ran right past the Observer Ward without realizing it, and he might die for this, though. He does get disrupted. There's a bit of time here for the TA. Ken is still trying, but he cannot survive. No way in hell. There's a great arena from KP to make sure nobody can follow up, and a great Observer Ward to be able to scout out the TA.
Yeah, I don't think that was expected. Really, the blink timing lined up, as you mentioned, they took too long on UDV. Savage is ready to just jump in, set up. BKB is up for Mikado, and they take out the TA. Like, this should be the TA's timing. Blink is still close by, but it just feels like with the Desolator up, you could have started instead with the DK. You could have started with your Kunkka as well, although JG's BKB is still a bit off. I think that might have been the time they're waiting for. Just blink BKB on these two heroes, and with that kind of taking away this win from their sails, opportunity for the mid-tier one's kind of gone, and now Savage can start to build towards his farm. Working towards the shards, working onto BKB on the Tiny. Once you have that BKB, it becomes a problem holding him, and it becomes a tough choice for Lucify. And he can only Demonic Purge one target. He's not going to have his Ags up anytime soon, and I think that's the key thing you need in this game. Like, it is a good Shadow Demon game, but you're going to need Ags, and for how the game's going for Lucify, that's a long ways off here.
Certainly is, John. Not going to be anytime soon, that's for sure. UDV, they kind of look just lost right now. Maybe they find KP. Wouldn't be too bad of a pick off here on the Mars, and it looks like they will. We'll see if they can transition to Roshan. It seems like they need something. They'll start to move into that Roshan pit now. Talon, they might not be in a position to defend this, so it's a big win for UDV if they get away with the Aegis for free, and it does seem like they will.
Without the Mars, that's a lot of their teamfight control gone. They need the arena to play with, and they're not going to be able to contest. Roche falls too quickly with a swarm, and TA Discord issues again, Mike.
Wow.
Look at that.
Imagine that. I mean, at some point I'm going to stop believing these Discord issues, John? It happens too frequently these days. Way too frequently. Oh, well. Yeah. Hopefully it resolves itself soon as UDV, again, Roshan going to go their way. Going to be a decent opening now for them to try and really get some objectives going. I think you've really got to get started on that mid-tier 1 tower if you are UDV now. I mean, we are almost 19 minutes into the game. So Roshan into mid-tier 1 and hell, maybe even a top or mid-tier 2.
Yep. It does open up those possibilities there to get that done. Minus armor again from the TA makes a quick work of those objectives. So shouldn't be too long. I don't think dealing with 2 lives on, say, a TA is too big of an issue, though. It's not like there's a BKB for Ken on his 2nd life yet. So I think if Talon managed to space out the engagement, they should still be able to handle Ken in the middle of these fights. But you don't really want to tempt it. It can be hard to burst the TA if the boat comes on top. And that is where UDV's lineup shines. They have a lot of save with the Shadow Demon support. They have a lot of sustain or at least stall mechanics out with the boat and the rum buff and the damage mitigation. So UDV can kind of drag these fights longer than Talon would be comfy with. as we do at least have to go ahead. Roche will fall. And that is going to be a second life for Ken. And we'll see how much they can get out of this. Also has the Grove Bow up. Best item for the TA on the tier 2. Very happy to see that for UDV. Talon, and they need some time to kind of build up. We're at the point where Razor, yeah, BKB is still there. 9-second chart still running. You kind of want that refresh, or what looks to be a Lotus Orb coming out, or Shiva's coming through from Kato down the line. And maybe once you have that additional protection from the Deso, that's when you feel a lot comfier here. But a very even game once more, Mike. Kind of the same story from game 1, where the first 20-25 minutes looked really even between both teams. Slight net forward lead for UDV, 6-6 right now. Talon, though, will go for a smoke play. Under a ward.
Under a ward. Not the greatest situation here for Talon. And if you UDV, I mean, with the Aegis up, maybe you could set up a great team fight for yourself. So the line has been drawn out by Talon toward the top lane, but again, everyone from UDV were very well aware they do back off at the right moment. And I think UDV, you kind of feel like they should be the ones smoking right now and chasing them down, understanding exactly where they are, but they kind of just play conservatively again here. And I guess Ken just doesn't really want to throw his lead away. He'll go for the mid-tier 1 instead, and I suppose that's just fine as well. There is going to be a defense to come out as they'll make the jump in. What have they got? It's going to be Q straight off the bat gone, but now a great arena. KP with the 3-man. Rubido, he's going to go down onto the Dragon Knight. Ken still trapped up, but he'll go after Hyde. That'll be a Rubik gone, but now Ken in the air. He's going to lose the Aegis. That'll be the first life. The boat is going to fly in, but the spear is already out from KP, locking down the Templar Assassin as Ken is trapped between a rock and a hard place. He's going to drop. And somehow, Talon, even with that terrible start to the fight, they still make it work.
They were forced to buy back in 2 supports, but it is worthwhile to find 2 cores in exchange, taking out the Aegis. And the mid-tier 1 still stands from Talon. You know, it's UDV just didn't manage to find the objective. They threw a lot of bodies forward and sacrificed a lot, and they didn't find the opening. It's just going back to that point. It feels like UDV had that big opening with the Desolator. They didn't go for the objective first. They go for Roche first, giving Talon that space to respond, and now they're still hunting for more. Although it is harder to catch out T. They blew the dust already, so no charges left on Hyde. T's gonna be able to escape, but they find a top tier 1, holding onto the mid once more, and Talon are at this point where they can invade the triangle once again.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Mid lane, UDV is still going to try and force this tier 1 tower in, but KP is going to be there to defend and just not allow it. Is JG going to show himself, but they are very afraid. Instead, oh, they found Savage on the Tiny, but he's going to have the Heavenly Grace to purge off all the stuns. Now the arena is in. They lock down the Dragon Knight once again, and Rupido's gone. And Savage, he's very healthy right now, especially with the boat run buff out from Hyde. They can just keep going for more. JG, Avalanche is out from Savage for a killing spree. Is Lucify, well, he's going to try to run. Eventually, they might just catch him. They do slow him down, and that might just be a 3rd kill to go the way of Talon. And John, I mean, this is the timing for the TA, but they haven't found a way to make it work.
It feels like UDV has been way too conservative with their movement. The moment they got the Deso, as you mentioned, they should have gone for a smoke play. The moment they spotted that smoke from Talon with their ward, they should have gone for a smoke play. You know, chase Talon, force them on the backside, catch them off guard, take that fight away from the tier 1 mid. I think if that entire fight broke off, say, in their own jungle, in their own triangle, or the top jungle, it would have been a very different story. Because that access point would have been further, the buybacks from Talon would have taken longer to come to fruition with a movement in, and they might have been able to find more. Ken in the middle here, Talon collapsing.
He's gonna blink right into Makoto. Do they have a way to cancel KP? No, he's not quite within range to get the spear out fast enough. Nice little TP away from it there from the TA, but it goes back to what you kind of just talked about, John. They've missed their timing. They still could make something work, and in fact, Savage is running the high ground as we speak. Instead, though, they are going to run into Q, but this could work out very badly. More TPs are coming in. Talon, they're happy to fight. Teehee, he does get jumped, but he's still fine, as Savage now is the one that needs the man fight back. He'll BKB TP up, but he's going to die. Oh, he doesn't respect the damage output from the Templar Assassin, as now Rubido is at least going to go down, but they are going to find KP as a trade, and Ken's still going. He wants as much as he possibly can get, and he should have the Razor here. Makoto has nowhere to go, and that's more like what you... Oh, a neutral creep got it. Oh, of course it did.
Oh, that's some tight timing on neutral. I'm not sure if that's fully calculated from Makoto, but they minimized their loss at least by 1 hero. Still a really good fight from UDV. Ken very comfy now with the BKB up and running. That's going to cause a lot of issues in Savage trying to burn through Refraction. Really lots of time for Ken now to stand up front, do the damage for the team. And Talon's got to be a bit cautious. This is when the TA feels really, really strong. Still a fresh BKB, 8-second charge left. And you got to respect that output. I think Savage didn't back off when he should have as soon as Q died. I don't think he expected the BKB to be up. I think he expected to be able to burn through Refraction, try to force something on TA, and have the rest of Talon collapse onto him with TPs onto mid. It didn't quite line up that way, and now UDV, even at the game, they take the lead themselves, 2k up, they invade the Talon triangle, they're cutting off the farm points for Savage. Savage, still no Shadow Blade, still no Silver Edge, still a ways off from hitting those items. And until that point, you're going to be lacking a little bit on that burst, unless Mikado does manage to sustain through with, say, a really good static link in the middle of a fight.
Against the odds, UDV able to make a team fight work, and just feels like they're going to keep going. You know, it's Savage, he's catching up. That Tiny, it becomes a massive issue as time goes on, and quite frankly, that death there for Savage was... It just felt cocky of Savage to jump in that early. You know, maybe a second or two later and he would have been more successful, but definitely a little bit too early there. See what the game plan is. I mean, so far UDB, they've just backed off to safety once again. Top lane, no, he may get caught out here. Go for a Sakuchi. Hyde is around with his own Sakuchi available. But they aren't going to find the Weaver though. He keeps running north. They won't find him, at least for now, but he runs through the creep wave, which should have made it very obvious. Savage having a chase, but eventually he just way too fast. Is going to be perfectly fine. He does find the refresher recipe here. Rupido gets the Razor. The courier at least goes down, and no refresher now available from Makoto.
Man, he's pretty close to the gold requirement as well. So 2.5 minutes without that double static link, double Eye of the Storm, double BKB use in these fights. Big opening for UDV. They do lose a tier 2 tower first. That does allow Talon to constantly pressure top. In fact, with a Tiny, you could try to siege. Not the safest proposition here for the side of Talon. So I think they're just going to, again, take over the triangle. UDV doing the same on the opposite side, still building up on their TA, still building up on the Kunkka. We're seeing Can work onto the Daedalus next, so his burst damage is going sky high. And JG is about to build into the AC as well. So more armor
Roshan.
Up against Tiny always helpful.
Look how fast that Roshan is, John. 5 seconds. Oh, they miss out.
Go back! Oh, no.
It was a 5-second timer. Oh, that is very, very bad timing, at least for Talon. They don't check again.
Regeneration.
How fast were they expecting it?
Maybe not that fast. They really aren't checking it. That's a big miss. I think Talon would be in prime position to just take it. Look at UDV's position. They're not anywhere near the Roshan. They only have the tier 2 to TP2 on mid. Talon still in control. The scan is out though, and UDV don't find it.
Alright, he's gonna find the Kunkka, but now Rupido. Oh, Rupido never got a stun off. Never got a Dragon Tail off, but now the arena's gonna fly down. They are still trying to focus down Hyde, but the Guardian Angel is out from Q to protect us. Ken now, he needs to back off. They've sapped way too much damage away from the TA. The rest of his team, though, may end up falling here as they continue here from Talon Esports, but who are they aiming? KP, he's the one dropping low. He'll put the shield up though. He'll survive another day's Rupido. And Tihi, they'll move in. Makoto, even dropping low himself, does end up going down to Lucify. It turns out UDV are able to out-sustain the Talon Esports side as 2 go down, and they're still having to look for a bit more. They won't find anyone else. In fact, never mind, they do. KP to drop on the Mars, Ken able to find the kill, and suddenly once again UDV able to make a team fight work that didn't look like it should have.
They managed to get a couple of great things there. BKB flew out from JG earlier. He managed to use the Go Chip to delay that progress onto Rupido, and that's where the lineup really shines. They've got 2 really tanky heroes, both buff, makes it so hard to pierce through either of them, and they see the Roshan first. Another quick rush here for UDV. Aegis plus Shard coming out. Talon not in a position to contest at all. And now they're in a very tricky position. UDV 5k up, 14 to 12. Second life on Ken along with a shard. So silence on the trap. It's going to be tough to fight. I think the side of Talon, they just need to keep building up on Savage. He's still not at the point where, you know, Artiny's a big raid boss yet. He's going to need armor. He's going to need that crit with a silver edge. You also want that, well, you do have a full refresh on Mikado now with a courier respawning. So you can kind of do a lot more in these fights, but you need to find an angle. I don't think the DK is it. You've got to find a Kunkka first to take that boat away.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Speaking of the Kunkka, JG picking up the full AC now, so
Step lively
UDV
now.
getting
Your
even
ally is
tankier.
on board.
Looking very good for game 2 now with a 6k net worth advantage. And Talon, only one game away from qualifying to Div 1 here, John. You'd hate to see them end up choking throughout game 2 and 3. But right now, I mean, UDV, they're doing a great job. They are certainly doing a great job of holding on to this game 2. As Daedalus is going to come out now on Ken. So plenty of damage now on the Temper Assassin.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Onto the bot tier 2 they go. It's only Ken basically, but he'll get the job done himself. No issues.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Talon Esports, they won't even show up for a
Bottom tower
defense.
has fallen.
Hell, even the tier 3's getting pinged out by UDV.
They've got the output, and with the Deso up, it doesn't take too long. Talon's still on the opposite side of the map. Not going to fully commit for TP's home. Still playing with the smokes, but no one's in this area. They're going to have to collapse towards mid. Mikado already standing by the tower. Could be a risky spot for him if he's caught alone. Instead, they try to poke the tier 3 just a bit with Savage to force a response. Still, look at UDV. They're in a good spot as well for the smoke.
They're going to find Makoto. He's not able to get the BKB off in time, and that should be the razor to go. He does pop it in the end, but it means nothing as even Q's going to go down.
Dire's courier has been
Ken
killed.
just annihilating them on the TA, and the pings are immediately up for the bot tier 3 tower. They want to go for the racks.
Radiant's middle
They just
tower
need a
is
creep
under
wave,
attack.
and they should have one very, very soon.
Dire's
That's
bottom
big. You still have Arena up on Talon for the defensive fight. KP's got to land a big one. Buyback ready on Mikado. Refreshes up as well for the BKB use. He wants it. There could be a good fight here for Talon, but they're going to have to commit for it.
Right now, it doesn't seem like they're comfortable doing so, John.
Dire's
You still got the Aegis up on Ken, so scary, scary times to try and force a fight. Savage, he does show up. They might move into the Dragon Knight, but Rupido still pretty tanky himself, and you also got Lucify around on that Shadow Demon with the disruption if necessary. But it does seem like UDV, they're happy with just the bottom tier 3 tower for now. They are not going to push for the racks. Which, you know, whether it comes back to bite them later on or not, it's a different question entirely, but they are going to play a bit more conservatively, a bit more safely for now.
I think that's a fair play. You know, they know that the respawns were up in Talon. They still respect that team fight that can come through. Talon, gonna smoke up, try to force a fight outside her high ground here.
You've got the Silver Edge now available on 23 Savage, so he's finally got that big crit. Teehee immediately speared up. KP, he'll go for a nice arena. That'll be your Weaver gone immediately. And JG, he's trapped up, but he does have a BKB available if he does want to pop it. So he's actually quite fine, as he will pop it eventually and run away. In the meantime, KP, Guardian Angel is going to save, but not for long as he should drop. But Ken, he's the one who's been caught out on the TA in the backside. Savage, he found JG and Lucify, as Ken is now surrounded. He'll get one down. He'll try to man fight, but it is not going to work. Savage is there with the triple. It might even be an ultra. The Tiny's starting to hit a lot harder with that Silver Edge. And there's even a buyback that was out by Teehee on the Weaver, but he never gets her in time.
Yeah, and this is where maybe that decision to back off from the high ground starts to bite them a bit, Mike. They lose a lot of heroes. Savage is starting to get tanky. I think the one thing Savage will just need is that full AC. As right now, our TA with Meld does minus 18 armor. That leaves Savage just at a paltry 3 armor. So his EHP doesn't kick in. But as long as you handle that TA, as long as you leave that for Mikado to handle with a static link, you have no problems. And the refresh is there to guarantee that you have a lot of presence. BKB's been doing great. They managed to find the right target this time. You know, they jump in, they take care of JG first. They take care of the Kunkka. They ensure that the boat's not landing on big tanky heroes. And without the disruptiveness of the Kunkka to keep this fight for long, Talon gets much faster burst windows to take care of those tanky heroes, to take care of the TA. And look at Savage. He's just going on to high ground.
Radiant's top
It's
tower
Tony, John.
is under attack.
Oh, he may have gone a bit far. That purge, it's going to help as Rupido is moving in. Still, they heal him up a little bit. Savage, he'll pop the BKB. The right-click damage from Rupido is just not there right now. Savage, he's barely survived. KB's going to move in now. Teehee, he is maybe going to die back, but no, the time lapse is out. And Lucify actually ended up killing off the Tiny in the end. There's Rupido going to try and move in onto Makoto. They'll just back off here on Talon Esports. They've lost their POS 1 Tiny. They don't want to keep the fight going. But it seems like they're probably also going to lose their Omni Knight. Skew will run south, but it is not going to help his cause. He will go down. So ultimately, Talon Esports now sticking around a bit too long, and well, they don't even find the tier 3 Talon.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake coming out. I'm not sure about the order of events. It did look like Hyde tried to lift Savage away, but I'm not completely sure if Savage popped his BKB at the same moment, because I ended up seeing Hyde lift himself up. So if they managed to get that lift save on Savage, I think that fight might have ended up slightly differently. They'd have to commit a lot harder for the Tiny. There would have been enough time for Talon to respond, get a better position for these fights. Very optimistic high ground push from Savage, though. Definitely a bit keen. Especially since, you know, Refresh was still down there for Mikado, so the full complement of the Razor's kit wasn't quite up, and you didn't have that double BKB, double Static Link, double Eye of the Storm to help you through. A bit of an opening for UDV. 9k lead back their way because of that. They get to clear out the top tier 2, taking Talon's last outer tower, and then they can really start to consider the high ground. And they also managed to get the gem back. So you're in a position where your TA is very safe, your Reaver is very safe to keep scurrying around, your wards are going to be able to be in nice aggressive spots as they have this on the bottom of this ramp at the top jungle. So they've got good ways to monitor where Talon will want to maybe go for a smoke play, maybe clump up and look for a counter fight. And they will probably just wait for next rush though. It's only a minute away until we see that respawn. But as we've seen before, UDV, when they get into that pit, it doesn't take long to find that objective.
Big smoke up. No Roshan yet, but Talon, they want to force a fight. There are some buybacks across the map. None on Savage, none on Makoto. Could be a very dangerous time here to force this fight for Talon. UDV, they're just going to hold that high ground of the triangle on the Radiant side. They'll wait for a power rune to spawn up.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
It's going to be down bot though, an Arcane Rune, and instead on the side they do move in. The hood, they got a nice arena. KB already fighting too, but the BKBs have been forced out. So it looks like Talon, they might just have to back for now. They'll pick up Teehee, but Makoto's been caught out. They've got the Guardian Angel. They will refresh and try to go again, but they are just being kited away. So Talon, they just can't catch anyone else. It's only Teehee to drop.
It's getting tough to chase down in these fights. The Ags has been up in Lucify for a while. Multiple charges on that Demonic Purge makes it obnoxiously hard to get a chase going. And I think that's going to be the issue for Talon. They need to find a way to jump the Shadow Demon first, but Lucify's positioning has been on point. And look at this build up from our Shadow Demon, Mike. Going for the refresh. So he knows what he has to do, just keep spamming out the Demonic Purges, slow down everyone, prevent them from gap closing, and ensure that you can just keep kiting them around in these fights through the BKBs, through the Guardian Angel. It does become a pretty tough fight for Talon if you do allow the Shadow Demon to get that off. And I think that's a lot of pressure on KP to look for that backline. We mentioned before that JG's Kunkka was a big factor. Now it definitely has to be the Shadow Demon gone first. Take away that Demonic Purge and the fight's kind of simplified.
Still the fight over the Roshan, which has just spawned up. Third Roshan of the game now available. Talon, they're going to move in, but there is trap vision here from UDV to scan out exactly what's happening. Mind you, they are going to be 4v5 for 15 seconds without T here. They are going to jump in. KP, who will be gone? He found the Kunkka. Savage going to try and burst him down as KP's already gone. Disruption is there. They've saved the Kunkka for now as KP's going to buy back, but JG, he'll fight back now against Savage, and they've got the Tiny down. I think he might need to buy back here as Makoto is going to try to run, and KP will move back in with another arena. They'll commit the Tiny dieback, or rather buyback. But Hyde already going to get taken down on the Rubik. And that'll be the end of the team fight. So a very messy engagements here from Talon and UDV, but this time around UDV, they do come out on top.
That's a massive win for UDV. Widening their lead to 16k, gives them a good position over Roche. Talon, they still have the big heroes they need. The Tiny just doesn't feel like it does enough in the middle of these, Mike. Savage has 32 armor. The Meld plus Desolator is still a lot of damage output to drop that EHP on Savage, and I think he's going to need a full AC and a little bit more strength. He is going for the Overwhelming Blink next. Whether or not he has the time to finish that is a different question. Roche does begin. They've got the cheese and refresh. It's difficult.
I mean, it's impossible right now. They lose a fight, the game's over. For Talon Esports, they've got to back out. UDV, on the other hand, more than happy now to try and force something. Refresher Shard available on JG, so you've got that double boat available. You'd be kind of laughing if you had a Torrent Storm right now as the Conquer. Having double of those in a team fight could be very, very effective for them. But he does not have the Aghanims up right now. Meanwhile, Talon still feeling like they are quite far behind in net worth, and that's because they are. We'll sit back and relax for a little bit, but it does seem like UDV this time around are going to prep nicely to try and push through this bot lane. I wonder if Talon even bother trying to defend here. It's a very hard defense.
It is. I think ideally you try to clear out the TA outside your high ground, but they have a lot of ways of just playing safe. X mark going forward for Kent to clear out some damage here.
It's a stun out from Rupee though. Makoto. They'll go for the static link out onto the Dragon Knight, but that's really the least of your worries as Ken. He's the big damage dealer. KP's going to jump in to try and help out Makoto, but it's not helping enough. Makoto, he might just be gone, and he will be. No buyback available on the Rubik, or rather the Razor. They want to keep moving. Q, almost getting burst to town there by the TA. Savage is the one who has to move in, but it's just so hard to see how he takes down Ken. Twice, in fact. There's a second lane of barracks will go down here by UDV. And they're going right for the Megas. They aren't messing around. But the X-Pack may be counterintuitive. In fact, they move in. Savage is there a bit early on. Not sure about this one, as the boat's going to fly in. They've got plenty of defense, and they'll just chase down Savage all the way as Hyde's gone down to the Rubik. He'll buy back, but they've got the Tiny, and I believe Savage has no buyback available, so that should just be GG to come out as Hyde calls it. And suddenly UDV tie out the series 1-1.
Yeah, that's a great performance from UDV. Talon getting a bit hasty a couple of times there where, they try to go onto high ground, they try to force these fights, and they get punished. I think they get over keen. UDV, for their part, there was a little bit of an early window which they missed out on, and they did feel like Talon was getting a little bit more back than you'd expect them to with their lineup, but they get hasty. And props to UDV. Their draft was great. That Shadow Demon pick really closed it out. I think the Ags rush for Lucify was great, and his positioning was perfect. He was never caught out in the fights. Every single time Talon would jump in, pop the BKBs, he'd be ready with a Demonic Purge to ensure that Mikado couldn't chase, to ensure that Savage couldn't chase. And it was just too much. Like, the Guardian Angel wasn't doing anything with the Demonic Purge in the game. Heavenly Grace wasn't doing anything. Just a really good counter pick in that Shadow Demon that forced Talon to get kited around. And I think Talon's got to be concerned about that. And again, they have to look back at their plays, consider the timings they were going for, consider the movements they did in some of the engagements they took, and learn from it. UDVO, looking great. If they manage to pull an upset here, Mike, it's not going to be a clear path for a Talon onto Div 1. There are potential for tiebreakers if that does happen.
Let's see how it goes, John. Yeah. We are going to head to a short 10-minute break, and right after that break, we'll be back with UDV versus Talon Esports game number